Hey everybody, and welcome to the first ever Colossus Initiative podcast. I have to say I'm a little nervous, super excited to be doing this, but I've never podcasted before, so I hope it goes well. Happy to hear any improvement suggestions you have in the comments. And I do apologize for this beard. I am seeing it on the screen. Actually stopped shaving when my wife got pregnant, and I've been growing it as somewhat of a playoff beard, or let's call it something like that. So it's a weird superstitious thing I have going. But anyway, I'll go to the barber next week, so you won't see it like this in the next episode. Yeah, let me tell you what the podcast is going to be about and how we aim to structure it and what we intend to do with it moving forward. So the idea is to share either anecdotes from my life or thoughts I have going through my mind, or anything really. It could also be topics you send us or questions you have, and just go over them in a little bit of detail, talk about the background of the thinking and how it ties into the Colossus mindset. For those of you who aren't following us on Instagram or haven't heard of us before, let me describe the Colossus mindset in a little bit more detail. So basically, what we're talking about is that success in life is tied into three pillars, in three key areas. The first pillar is resolve, right? We can use a synonym like willpower. We can call it self-discipline. So it's the ability to not really look at what's going on in the present moment, that something might be uncomfortable now, but look at what this action will bring me in the future and act based on that, right? So it means going on a run, even if we don't really feel like it, knowing that we'll feel better tomorrow for having gone on the run, right? So that's resolve. We have wisdom. Wisdom sounds fancy. It sounds like we're trying to package it or sell you something that sounds deep. But it's really the most suitable word we found that encompasses the following. We mean self-awareness, awareness of what's going on around us. It means being aware of our ego and continually changing that relationship so that we're less dependent on it. And it also means self-love. You know, the relationship we have with ourselves and how we treat the person we see in the mirror. So that's wisdom, number two. And third, we have leadership. Now, leadership, I'm sure you've heard this term. I'm sure you've come across it before. And many people like to tie it into a rank or a title or power. It's not that. It's service, right? It's acting in a way that best serves the people around me, whether it's by setting a good example, whether it's by helping somebody through genuine need to help people, right? And not trying to get something from them. And it's about being aware of the fact that we are living in an interconnected society. What we do matters. It affects other people. It might mean setting a good example, but it also might mean, inspiring people to change, giving them honest feedback, acting in a way that makes other people's lives better and not playing in the zero-sum game. Right, so that's the Colossus mindset in a nutshell. We go over it much more detail on our website, in the newsletter, Instagram page. Check all of that out if you'd like. But for the purposes of today's podcast, I'll stop right there. And what we want to do with these podcasts, and what I want to do today as well, is as I mentioned, share a story or answer a question and really tie it into this mindset, into this life philosophy, because we really do feel that three pillars working together, when we cultivate all of these at the same time, when we develop all of them and not only focus on one or ignore another, we live a successful life. We get the things that we want to get done. The things we get done serve us, make our lives better, fall into our goals, and we help others, make a positive impact on the world around us. Right, so that's the Colossus mindset. And let me go right into the story that I wanted to share with you. It's going to sound silly. I was actually debating whether I want to share it, whether it's significant enough. But thinking about it, it really is. Let me take a sip of water. and I'll get right to it. So the other day I was going to get a burrito for dinner. We have this guy that actually does these really cheap burritos. Cost like €4. And they're awesome, they're tasty, they're full of meat and spices. It's really good. And we usually talk with the guy about life, about our wives and whatever, how everything's going. And when I was walking to get this burrito, I saw a teenage girl outside. She might have been 12, 13, I don't know. And from a distance, I saw her kneeling on the ground, and my first thought was like, hey, she might need help. But I wasn't sure. And as I was walking towards her, I was internally debating, really debating, whether I should ask her if she needs help. And looking back on it, I was like, why was I debating? Like, why wouldn't you ask and make sure? If she says no, she says no. There's no difference. She says yes, you're able to help her. And reflecting on myself, it was a few things. Social anxiety, right? I didn't want to embarrass myself. Maybe I was subconsciously picturing her telling me, like, no, please get away from me, stop bothering me. If other people weren't helping her, why should I be the one to help her? So I was feeling a little, pulled down by my surroundings. And this kept going through my mind. Like, should I ask her? Shouldn't I ask her? In the end, I did. So I stopped. I asked her if she needed help, and I'm not lying. She had this look of such gratefulness, but relief, mainly, I would say relief. And she was saying, yes, I've been here and nobody's been helping me for the last 5 minutes. Turns out she needed to put a shopping bag that she had, a full shopping bag, into a larger one because the smaller one was tearing a little bit, so the things would have probably fallen out. So, I held the larger bag, she put the other one into it, smiled at her, and walked away, went to get my dinner. And for the rest of that day, I felt amazing. I really did. I had the best conversation with my wife. I planned my next day. I was super enthused when I woke up. I was flooded with this sense of, I don't even know what to call it. I guess you could call it positivity, happiness, meaning. I felt good. And when I was reflecting on that, I was thinking, like, why don't I act in a way that I feel this all the time? Why was it even a question that I asked her if she needed help? And the answer is, at that moment, I was prioritizing maybe my sense of safety, this bubble that with the coronavirus we're maybe even more conscious of, this personal distance thing. I was afraid that my assumption wasn't correct, and I was afraid of embarrassing myself, to be completely honest with you, and it made no sense. It made absolutely no sense. And I felt great. I made another person's day better. Because of a choice I made, their evening was slightly better. Because our paths crossed, her life was a little better. Now, how does it tie into the Colossus mindset? How does it tie into the 3 pillars? And what was the lesson, aside from something you must have heard a million times before, help others? Well, let's start with the Colossus mindset. So I really do feel all 3 pillars needed to be exhibited during that situation. I was telling you I felt a bit of resistance. Overcoming that resistance is resolve. I wasn't focusing on the short term, on what would be best for me now, and not even best, what would be the most comfortable thing for me now. But I made a decision to do maybe the hard thing, the harder thing in the present moment. So that would be resolve. Then came wisdom. I was actually aware of her needing help. I was reflecting on the fact that many of the people passing her, I'm sure, didn't look at it like I did. Hey, she probably needs help, whatever, and she went away. I'm sure they didn't even notice. And that's not pointing a finger at them or saying that they should have noticed, but a prerequisite to helping people is being aware of what's around us, being aware of their struggles, stepping outside of ourselves for a little while. So that was wisdom. And then we have the most important one, which is leadership. These small situations, that's what life is about. It's these small, tiny moments where we make another person's life better, and we either hear them say it, or we see it, or we recognize it. These small moments and these small acts of kindness are what life is about. And not to make it too esoteric, but we are all interconnected, right? And to recognize that and to act based upon that, that's leadership. So those three pillars were shown, and I just wanted to share that with you. I wanted to share my thoughts on that and how small daily situations tie into what we're talking about in terms of Colossus and the Colossus mindset. All right. And I would also leave you with a challenge today. Small challenge, nothing big. Consider somebody that you can help, and somebody that you can help with no more of 5 to 10 minutes of your time. Right? It could be somebody that's learning a new skill that you're already good in, that you can either help them, give them advice, or guide them. It could be helping your friend with anything, with a small thing. Just consider something where you can make a tiny, tiny investment of your time. And by investing that time, you will help another person. And then do that thing, right? That would be my challenge to you. Don't procrastinate it. When you shut off this video, think about it. Think about something small you can do. Do the thing and see how you feel. And I'm 100% certain that your day will be drastically different for having done the thing. And this isn't a call to, I don't know, create a movement of kindness or something. It is even a little selfish if you think about it, doing a good deed so that you feel good or seeing that you feel good. But the act of feeling good, or I shouldn't say act, the feeling that you have when you help someone, it's evidence that we need to respect how connected we all are. What we do with our days, what we do with our decisions, this all matters. We aren't living alone. And life will not be better by viewing it as a zero-sum game where if I win, he has to lose. For him to win means I lose. This is nonsense. So think about it. Think about who you can help. Because I'm a firm believer that life is made up of these small moments that I was mentioning before. Usually people like to think that it's these big tumultuous moments that make us who we are, and that our lives are either happy, sad, tragic, or amazing due to these significant moments. And that might be true. It might be true for some. I'm sure you've had some big moments in your life. I have. But the large majority of it, and the large majority that determines whether we're happy and how we view things and all of this stuff, it's about these small things. Have we helped somebody recently? In a small, tiny way? Do we put our phone away when talking to a friend? You know? Did we go running yesterday instead of sitting on the couch? Even if the run was like 5 minutes long. Doing the small things right lets us lead a happier life. So I challenge you to start with an act of kindness. Notice if you're feeling resistance. Consider why that is. Overcome it. Look at the situation from another person's perspective and help them. See how it feels living the 3 pillars of the Colossus mindset. And this isn't to sell the philosophy or anything, no. Just see how interconnected all of this is. And see why scientists say we are social animals. So I feel like I'm rambling a little bit. I'm going to cut it now. I wanted to talk for about 20 minutes. Let me check the time. It's 14:15. So yeah, thanks for paying attention if you are. And check out next week's episode. If you have any thoughts about the podcast or anything you'd like us to cover, anything you'd like me to talk about, leave a comment. I'll very happily check it out. If not, see you next time, friends.